Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Manifest, so spread your wings and prepare to get your feet wet as we explore the mysteries and new questions of Episode 4, Unclaimed Baggage. Tonight's episode revolves around mysterious Flight 828 stowaway Thomas and his relationship with flight attendant Bethany, all the while Sanvi and Michaela begin to see eerie hallucinations of a woman made of stone. So, who is Thomas? Why was Bethany helping him? Who is the stone lady and what is her significance? Episode 4 begins with Sanvi as she continues her research into what exactly is going on in the brains of the 828 passengers. As she walks through a hallway, she sees wet footprints before being confronted by a woman made of stone. A much more sinister calling than we've seen before, almost like a jump scare. It begs the question, are all callings good? Later, Sanvi shows a brain scan to her coworker, a scan we can only assume is her own, to gain some insight on what might be happening in her own brain during these hallucinations. He explains there's brain activity in the insular cortex consistent with someone who experiences hallucinations, but not much is known about this area. Side note, the insular cortex is believed to be connected to our consciousness and plays a role in our emotions such as compassion, empathy, and perception. It is also believed to be connected to motor control, self-awareness, cognitive functioning, and interpersonal experience. Interpersonal experiences are the strong, deep, or close association or acquaintance between two or more people, like the connection between the passengers of 828. So, calling all brain surgeons that may be watching, fill us in with some more info in the comments section. After looking at the brain scan, Sanvi's coworker explains there's a homeless man in room 810 with similar brain readings. As she goes to visit him, she sees more wet footprints before our stowaway Thomas comes bursting out of the room, rambling about Bethany, the flight attendant. Meanwhile, Michaela, on stakeout with her ex-fiancé Jared, also experiences a hallucination with the stone lady. This time, however, she isn't wet, but has wings. She speaks to Michaela saying, "Save him," which Michaela confuses as meaning save the man on their stakeout. This leads to a bus gone wrong and a whole lot of trouble for Michaela and Jared. As Sanvi searches for answers about Thomas, she meets with Bethany, the flight attendant. Turns out Thomas is her cousin's lover who is doubling as a flight attendant while trying to escape persecution as a gay man in Jamaica. When they go to smuggle him out, Thomas escapes and Sanvi and Bethany rush to find him before the government does. Sanvi gets a clue from the water footprints, which leads her to Michaela. As they puzzle over where Thomas might have gone, Michaela and Sanvi realize they've been seeing the same hallucination, but with one difference. Sanvi saw the stone lady with wet feet, and Michaela saw her with wings. This clicks in Bethany as the Angel of the Waters, a statue of an angel on top of the Bethesda fountain in Central Park. This fountain is a big part of Angels in America, a Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award-winning play by Tony Kushner. The play also happened to be Thomas's partner Leo's favorite play, and where they were going to meet up after Flight 828 was scheduled to land. And lo and behold, there's Thomas at the fountain, scared and freaking out about missing his partner Leo and 5.5 years of his life. Sanvi, Michaela, and Bethany take Thomas to safety, and another calling is complete. This time it took both the callings of Sanvi and Michaela, the different angels, to work together to solve it. Sound familiar? All things work together for good. It's becoming apparent that there's a connection between these passengers and that these callings are starting to pull them all together, likely for some unknown ultimate goal where they will have to unite for good. Just like they all felt compelled to meet at the plane and watch it explode, and just like the connection Michaela had with shadow victim Kelly Taylor and their calling, Own Your Truth. But what's the significance of the Angel of the Waters? Why this particular message and calling? I believe it was used for a very specific reason. The Bethesda fountain in New York takes inspiration from the Pool of Bethesda in Jerusalem, and more specifically from an event called the Healing of a Paralytic at Bethesda. The healing was an event that occurs exclusively in the Gospel of John, where Jesus Christ miraculously heals a paralyzed man at the pool. Along the fountain in New York, there are 4 4-foot cherubs representing temperance, purity, health, and peace, and is referring to the Croton Aqueduct, the first dependable supply of clean water for the city of New York. It was and is a symbol of health and healing powers, just like the Pool of Bethesda was believed to be blessed by God with healing waters. I touched on this a bit in episode 1 of Exploring Manifest, but could all these passengers be in need of some sort of healing or penance? Could these callings be a way to become cleansed, whether it be a cleansing of a physical ailment like Cal's cancer or some sort of emotional burden? Remember what Isaiah said to Michaela last episode, to unburden herself. The fountain itself also plays a large role in Angels of America, a play which examines AIDS and homosexuality in 1980s America and is largely argued to be one of the most important pieces of theater written in the 20th century. Many of the characters in the play battle with AIDS and begin to experience ghostly visions and the appearance of angels. The character Prior Walter is also described by the angels as a prophet or carrying a prophecy, and that his mortal illness is what has caused this prophecy and these visions to manifest in him. In episode 2, I touched on the idea that Cal could be some sort of savior or perhaps now a prophet. At the end of the play, the characters gather at the Bethesda fountain, and Prior talks about the healing of the paralytic at Bethesda Pool. Here the play discusses, albeit metaphorically, the courage to face changes despite not knowing the outcome, and the play ends on a note of hope. Not unlike the characters of Manifest, who are now experiencing great changes since landing 5 years in the future, and certainly are leaping into the unknown. But more obvious is the fountain itself, a giant symbolic angel, yet another nod to religion and the connection between these callings and a greater power. That's it for this week's episode of Exploring Manifest. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I also have a Twitter account where you can get updates on my latest videos. Remember, if you have any new and exciting theories on the show, please feel free to comment below so I can pull an olive and shove it in my backpack to use for the next video.